Hello everyone, welcome to this new topic in C language. So prior to that, we have covered the basic part of C. Means once you start understanding the language, then there are some basic concepts like data types as well as operators and some other stuff which we learned in the last lectures is the essential part. Now the added complexity is added the complexity when we talk about these terms like arrays, because uh, once you understand it well, then there are very complex programs which are based on these the basic construct of a programming, C programming or any programming language. You will able to handle all those situations in the programming world. So arrays. So what does arrays means? What is the objective which we are going to cover in this? We are going to cover the 1D and 2D arrays, right? And the advanced applications of the array, right, in the program, right? Let's have a quick recap of the last basic construct which we had used in the last lectures. One of them was using the 10 different variables for 10 elements. So let's suppose you want at some point of time in your program 10 different data types to store some values. So for an example, I have different subjects like science, maths, right? And C can be one subject, right? And I want to store the marks of these subjects. So essentially, what I would require is to have the different data types for to hold the values of the numbers of these subjects. So I will do like this: science marks, right? Again, int or float, it's a choice. Means it depends what you want to cater as your data. If you do not want the decimal numbers in the marks, then you can probably choose the int, otherwise you can choose the float. Now for maths marks and something like that. So if there are 10 subjects, you need to have 10 different variables for this. So this first line is talking about to store 10 elements, we use 10 different variables as we are doing here, right? Now if we need 100, then this program grows, means you need 100, so which is not essentially a good way of doing the programming, right? So there must be something, some programming fundamental unit should be there to represent this sort of data, right? And what is that data? That data is actually the array. So array is actually derived data type from the primitive data types. So all these are primitive data types like int, float, and other char. All these are the primitive data types. But if you derive something from this, then you can form an array. So you can have an array of integers, an array of characters, right? Something like that. Now array can be one dimensional. We'll go through what is one dimensional. It is two dimensional, three dimensional. You can say this one can be categorized into multi-dimensional. Right. So what is, as an introduction, what is an array? It's a collection of similar data type, right? Elements of arrays are stored in contiguous, means consecutive memory locations. So let's suppose there is one element E1 and the second element is E2. So the storage in the memory for these E1 and E2 will be in the in the contiguous memory locations. So let's suppose E1 takes this set of this set of addresses for storing E1. Then E2 will be start from the next, right? These two, right? So if you take array, it will be of the similar type, and the storage will be like that the elements which are there in the array will be stored into the consecutive memory locations, right? As I just mentioned. So let's suppose it is addressed 2004, and then it will start from 2008 and something like that. So I take int into the consideration. So the size of int is 4 bytes, right? It is derived data type. So it is derived from the primitive data type. So it is derived data type, right? Now, how to declare an array? This is the declaration for an integer variable. This is an integer variable, and the next line of this is the array of integers. So this will hold 10 different integers. So I go back to the example. Suppose you want to store marks of the different subjects, right? So you can have an array of marks, right? Array of integers, which will store the marks of the different subjects, and it has index. So once you have this declaration in place in your code, then you can think of this A10 like A0, A1, A2, A9. So start from 0, 0. This is the index. What is this? This is the index, right? So start from 0th index and we'll go to the n minus 1 means total. This is n. N is the total number of elements in the array. So it will go, the index will go up to n minus 1. Right, clear? So this is how the array is declared, right? As I just mentioned in the last slide, there can be one-dimensional array and there can be multi-dimensional array. Then this multi-dimensional array can be further classified into 2-dimensional, 3-dimensional, and up to so on, whatever means you want to, how you want to use in your program. I usually see that till the 3-dimensional array, most of the programming problems are expected to get resolved, but that's not the hard line. But you can categorize the other dimensions into the multi-dimensional array, right? Now, one-dimensional array contains one subscript like this one subscript, right? And as we just saw that when we declaring an integer array, how we are declaring integer, the data type, correct? The name of the array. Let's suppose the name of the array is marks, and then this size. So let's suppose there are 5 subjects. So 5 will be the size. Okay. Here an example. You just have in this slide, it is being taken A as a variable, as I just taken the marks. Similarly here taken A, start from A0 and will go up to A9. 0 is the A is the array name, 0 is the index, 1 is index, 2 is index, 3, 4, 5, 9. So index will go up to 0 to 9, and total number of the elements is the size of the array. That is 10, right? Correct. So one-dimensional array initialization. So at the beginning of your program, let's suppose you want to initialize the values of the array which you are going to use in your program. So the hard-coded initialization would look like that, would be looking like this, right? So here you have just declared int A10, and then at the same line you are initializing that with the values. So in A0, what will be the value? This one. In A1, what will be the value? This one. A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9. So start from 0 to A9. So A0 is this one, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, A9. Right? So when I access this, let's suppose I want at some point of time I want to access the fourth element. Then fourth element will be in the index 3, right? So A3 will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fourth element is 4. This is how array works, right? Same way it is explained in this slide as well. Now let's enter elements into the array. So here in the last slide we have an array, but we are initializing with the hard-coded values. Now we do not want the hard-coded values in the array. We want to accept the values from the user. So how you'll do it? So it's again, it has number of elements. So, and you want to give the values to each index, right? Means a 0th index, 1 index, 2 index, 3 index, and 9 index. Till 9 index, you want to give the value so that you have 10 elements in the array. So how you will do this? Since it's an iteration process, so we need a loop for this, right? So what we have done here is we are asking from user that how many elements you want in the array. Let's suppose user entered 10. 10 elements he wants. So 10 will be stored in this n, right? Now what is happening? The loop will happen from 0 to less than n, means 0 to 9, correct? Till there the index is available for array A0 to A9. I just told that the index start from 0, right? And then we are entering elements, means getting elements from the user as we usually do for a normal variable also. So let's suppose you want to enter a normal variable. What you will do? You will have simply int number, and then you prompt to the user printf enter the number, right? This is how you do. And then you do scanf, right? Scanf, and then right, and ampersand number. You are storing the number into this variable number, right? So this is how you are taking input from the user, through the scanf. Similarly, we are doing it but in the loop, and where we want to for which we are taking this input for array, right? For every element of the array. So for every element of the array, you are having that ampersand. So here, this is the way, right? Within the loop. So it will start from 0 and then ampersand A0 for the first element. Then I++ will be incremented to 1. So again for A1, and will go up to once this condition get false. When it get false, when the value of this would be 10. So we will say 10 is less than 10, then it will be false and exit it from the loop, right? This is simply how the loop works, right? Now we have the elements stored into the array. Now we want to print those elements. What are the elements there in the array? So here again, since the array contains 10 elements, so we need a loop to print the elements. Similarly, as you are doing for a scan, only the ampersand will be excluded from there, and then we will write this statement. We will write this statement like this one, right? Printf %d for printing the element, and then accessing the every element of the array. So this is how a array is being taken from the user, and then we are printing that array, right? And this is the example of the hard-coded initialization. Last was the example of taking input from the user for the array elements, and this is the example of the hard-coded. Now you have hard-coded initialization and you want to print. For again printing this whole array, you need a loop, right? So you are having this loop and then printing that array. Simple. I hope it clarifies. The output of this program would be at 0, 1, at 2, at first index, at 0 this is 1, at 2 this is 2, right? At second means in the third element means the second index would be 3, right? And this would be 4, right? Third index. So 0, 1, 2, 3 and so on, right? This is how it is working, correct? Now direct assignment can be done to the array. So in the last program, what we have done, we have taken input from the user to enter the array elements, and in the previous example we have hard coded all the elements. But even it is possible in array, you can directly assign values to at the particular index. So in your program, if you write directly a0 equal to 1, here you are assigning 1 at the 0th index. So it is also possible, right? So this is also happening. So at A0 we have assigned 1, at A1 we have assigned 2, at A2 we have assigned 3, and A3 we have assigned 4. Right? So this is the direct assignment. And then again, so you have assigned all the values. The size was 5 till 4th index. You have assigned the values. Now you want this size array, 5 size array to be printed. You know that what's the size of the array. So you have just looped through the array element and then printing the values, right? Same. So this is the simplified way of understanding the array. Now let's add some complexity into the program logic to find some of the elements of the array, right? So what would be the program logic? So if I think in a layman term, so what should be the logic? You want to find the sum of the elements of an array. So you need an array. You will get that array from input from the user. You fill that array, means again that loop and the scanf, right? Now you will have a sum logic where you will iterate through all the elements of the array and then summing those elements into the variable and then finally printing that sum, right? So what steps it will involve? First, it will involve, right, input, or maybe just prior to this, you can say prerequisite. Prerequisite will be an array to be declared first, right? This is the prerequisite in the program. Then you will take input from user. For what? For filling the array. You will take input. So this is prerequisite step, and then step 1. Then step 2, loop through the array. This you will do, right? Loop through the array. Once you loop through the array, you will take up every element and then adding to a variable sum, right? You will initialize sum by 0 and then adding those elements, every array element in the sum, and then iterating that. And once all the elements are summed up, then you will print the sum. So this is how you will do in this program, right? So what is there? It is an array, this prerequisite step. Now you are asking from user how many elements you want in the array. Though you have the size of 15, but you can have less element in the array. So you are taking input from the user. That let's suppose user entered the only, he want to have this algo to be performed for only for the 5 elements in the array. So you are taking that element size, then till that element size you are scanning the elements, right? And the logic is written only here, but you can exclude this logic from here, right? You can exclude this logic from here, and while printing the array you can have this logic there. You can do either way. You are taking input from the user, at the same time you are summing up the whatever the user has given as input, right? So AI is the user input. So let's suppose the user input first element as 1, right? Initially the sum value is 0. So what this line will give? This will give sum equal to the initial value is 0 plus A1 input by user is 1. So sum has the value. After this, the first iteration of the loop, the sum value is equal to 1, right? Now this loop will execute second time, because we have to take the loop to the level where it reaches to the elements, the count of the elements, because you have taken 5 elements. So loop will run 5 times. First time the loop, after loop value, the sum is 1. Now the next time the value will be sum. Again this logic will happen. In the last iteration value was 1. So sum equal to 1 plus AI. AI is the element which is being given by the user. Let's suppose user has given, in this statement user has given 3. So 1 plus 3, 5. 5 is stored in sum, and this you continuously get happens, right? And whatever the elements are entered in this, you are just printing those elements in this step. And then sum you already calculated. Then outside of this loop, you are printing the sum. One way you can do it, you can exclude this logic and put it here, this sum logic, when you are printing, and then it is the choice, right? Your choice. While taking the input from the user, you are calculating the sum, or once you have all the elements and then you are calculating the sum. It is up to you. And finally, once that sum will be calculated, the same line will get printed here as a sum, right? So this is the way you can understand the array. We will go into much deeper in this in the coming lectures. Thank you so much.